Alright everyone, welcome to the first episode of Matt Cooks. We're going to start today with a great chocolate chip cookie recipe. I wanted to start with this one because it is, I think, one of the best things I do. I am not an excellent cook, but this is one of the recipes that I really do feel like I have gotten down pretty well. And the first step that is the real secret to making these so good is boiling the butter. You get this really distinct taste when you boil the butter used in the chocolate chip cookies. So while that's going, I'm just going to do a quick rundown of what we need for this. You're going to have 1 3/4 cups flour. I'm using the gold medal flour. Sometimes I just use cheaper Walmart or Aldi flour, but decided for this one I would go with some gold medal flour. It does make a difference. I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon baking soda, 1 cup butter boiled as we're doing right now, 1 cup brown sugar, 1/2 cup white sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 egg yolk, and then 3/4 cups chocolate chips. We're going to actually be improvising on that I don't have enough chocolate chips, barely any, so another really good thing to do on these, and what you can do even if you have plenty of chocolate chips to mix it up, is by putting in either, I've got some dark and some milk chocolate, which you can have bigger chunks, or you can also do where you file it in, kind of get a grated chocolate, so different sizes of chocolate. So we're only have a few chocolate chips, then some chunks, and some grated within it. So we are now going to we are working on boiling this butter, which is just a huge step in making these, I will say. So those are going to get going. You want to hear the crackling of the bubbles for a little bit. But without overcooking it, although I've never actually overcooked it. And so I don't want to keep pushing the limits on that, but I suppose in theory you can overcook the butter. But I'm kind of getting into smaller chunks, trying to get it to melt. But essentially, we're going to get that boiling. Alright, while we're doing that, I might as well go ahead and start on this. So, because after this boils, it will need to cool down. So that's kind of in the process. So we really wanted to start with that first. But really, on the dry ingredients, we're going to start with the 1 3/4 cups of flour. Let's go ahead and get that in here. Okay. You're going to add to that the salt and the baking soda. We're going to have, that's the 2 teaspoons salt. We're going to add in the 1 teaspoon baking soda. And okay. All right, so that's the dry ingredients, and basically that will be, my spoon has got some butter on it, so I'm just going to use the measuring spoon to mix these together. You know, just get them mixed up, that's all. We're going to mix up the dry ingredients. That'll do there. We're getting that boiling. That butter is boiling now. And you really already get the smells coming off of that, and it's just that the smell really lines up with the taste when these come out of the oven. And that smell of that very distinct boiled butter flavor. So we're going to let that continue to work its way through there. You can get a good look at just how how that butter should boil. You want to see a little bit of browning happening. That's kind of right when it gets that flavor, when it gets cooked a little bit. Yeah. Really good smells coming off of that right now. Alright, we're at that point now where I don't want to overdo it, but I know that this is the creation of the really good flavors that you get by preparing the butter this way. So we're going to let that get just enough, and I'm kind of just winging it, kind of just going on instinct here. Now obviously you don't want to see the butter get too darkened, but like I said, this is a really important part of the process, so I'm going to let that continue on. Alright, so, but I think we're getting about there now. Okay, and so I think we are good, and we're going to let that be good enough here. Alright, I'm thinking that's probably pretty good. Right at that moment, it's starting to get a little dark. I'm going to go ahead and turn off that heat. And there you go. That's the boiled butter. I'm going to go ahead and remove that from the heat and let that cool off a bit. Now, since the next step is going to be, now that we have our dry ingredients ready, the next step will be to add the sugar, the vanilla, a lot of the other things into this boiled butter mixture. So we're going to let that cool off, so I will be right back. Alright, well, we've got that close enough down to room temperature, so we're going to go ahead and proceed forward. And I'm just going to mix it right here in the actual saucepan. And we're going to take that boiled butter and we're going to add the white sugar, the brown sugar. I've got that mixed up here already. This is a mixture of brown and white sugar. 1 cup brown, 1/2 cup white. There's our sugar mixture. We're going to add, I'm going to go ahead and measure this out, 2 teaspoons vanilla. And I would definitely recommend, I mean, I'm doing the full one for this just to get the full package on here, but I think that I typically split these though because it makes a lot of cookies, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you know, I usually like to eat them within a week, although cookies do keep a little longer than some things. But okay, we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Here is that. Okay, so that's our melted butter, sugar, and vanilla. All the really good stuff. Okay. And to that, we are going to cream those together using a hand mixer for several minutes until creamy. So that's another one of the really important parts of this is getting them nice and creamy. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to give a certain time amount just because typically the most important thing here is it just needs to look very creamy. It's more about getting a good feel for it, but you know, if you like more of the specific directions, then yeah, definitely 2-3 minutes. Right, it's going to take a little while. Let's kick that up to a high speed here. And kind of go medium high. get that good and creamy though. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough there. Okay, now next thing we're going to do on these is going to be to add the eggs and the egg yolk. It's 1 egg, 1 egg yolk. And we'll just use the hand mixer again, and then we'll add the flour in thirds, just kind of get it all, put out there what we're going to do. So we're going to add 1 egg, 1 egg yolk, use the blender, and then slowly add the dry ingredients. Okay. And there's your full egg. Alright, we've got our egg and egg yolk. We separated the yolk there. Starting to really thicken up now. Got an almost caramel feel to it. It's very thick and creamy. These typically turn out really well, and that is just already looking really good there. So now we're going to add in thirds our flour, salt, and baking soda mixture. Okay, maybe a little more closer to half, but that's all right. I'm going to keep this on low as much as I can without straining the. You don't want to over mix the flour. That's why you get all the mixing done before you add the flour. Do not want to over. We're going to kick that up. It's kind of struggling. So. Do not want to over mix the flour. Okay. but that is still very, very creamy there. All right, and that's not quite all of it. Really starting to thicken up here, but you start with a really good base of the butter and sugar and vanilla and egg. And this dough turns out very, very good. Very, very just these are very good chocolate chip cookies. Alright, and one more batch here. Just use the measuring cup I've got. I'll go cut down on the dishes that need to be. Okay. And that is good to go. Finish this up. It does get to be pretty thick at this point. I think the medium speed is still working though. As you mix it, it does get pretty workable. Alright. And I think that's enough though, as long as we've got it all blended in. Like I said, do not want to over mix. That flour. This is definitely the point where you got enough ingredients in there though. So okay, and enough mixing to just go ahead and transition over to the Alright, now the fun part, we're going to add in our chocolate chips. Now, I mean, technically, if you did want to, once again, get a specific amount, I mean, the most straightforward is 3/4 cups. This is probably about an 1/8 there, so we really got a long way to go. Those are just some chocolate chips I've got left over, needing to get more of those, but you know, that's just going to be a part of our overall makeup. I've got these. This is the dark chocolate. I do love dark chocolate. And so these are going to be some pretty big chunks that you're going to get in there. Of various sizes, I should say. And just leave one of those bigger chunks. It's kind of the easy part to get the amount of chocolate you need is those bigger ones. I've already got a little bit of crumbs though left over in this package, so I'm going to do that. But a big part of this will be, I just kind of like to take a basic kitchen knife and kind of grate it with that. And this is the milk chocolate, variety of sizes. Some pretty big chunks, some smaller. I mean, it's going to end up being plenty of chocolate. So, still the kind of thing that, you know, I just tend to prefer to eyeball. Okay. All right, so there's our chunks along with our chocolate chips. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm going to get your basic serrated kitchen knife. I'm going to put that along the edge. I'm just going to basically like a grater without having to have the mess of the grater. And I feel like sometimes it's hard for me to not lose a lot within the grater. So this is going to work just fine. And you can add some chunks as you go. Just get a good smooth surface to, sometimes you're gonna just cut off a little bit there. And this is another big part of making these so good, is that within the cookies you're gonna have a lot of different amounts of chocolate. You're gonna have the chunks, you're gonna have these shavings that almost just feel like they're throughout the cookie. So that's another part of making these so good. All right. Let's see where that puts us. You can just kind of take a look at it. This has gotten to be very thick. But it's almost caramelly. Very high quality cookie dough there. All right. That's looking pretty good. Might as well add a little bit more. I think that those shavings tend to, they look like a lot when you're getting them on there. You start mixing them in, you start to lose them. It starts to be hard to find them because they get mixed in so much. It's just so fine grain. All right, and then the added bonus is it just starts to fall in. Okay, I think we got plenty of chocolate there. And I know it's hard to say that you have enough, or too much, but I think that's going to be good. Now, another part of this is that these can tend to, it kind of depends, but these can tend to melt pretty quickly and get pretty flat, pretty thin when you are within the baking process. So it's a good idea, not even, like some things where you want to get the butter cold so that the butter melts and that makes things softer sometimes, but this is, I think, purely so that when you're baking it, it takes a little while for those cookies to flatten out by cooling off the dough. So, but they're still just as good if you put them right in. I do think that they will end up still very good. But we will put these in the fridge, I would say, anywhere between 30 minutes, an hour, even shorter if you're just, you're just doing it so that, like I said, they don't flatten out super quickly. But there's one sheet of the cookie dough ready to go. So now what we're going to do is we are going to get these into the fridge. Like I said, about 30 minutes to an hour, and then you just pop them in the oven. I do believe, let me double check here, that it's going to be the 350 if you want to get that preheated right before you're ready to put them in. I know some people like to preheat for a while and would go ahead and start preheating, so if that's what you like, that's fine. I'll preheat when it's time and put them in once it gets to 350. And it is 350, and it's going to be 350 for 10 minutes, but before that, we are going to go ahead and throw those things in the fridge and we'll be back. Alright guys, welcome back, and we've got the oven preheated to 350. We have got the dough cooled down, so I'm going to go ahead and get this batch in the oven, cooked at about 10 minutes at 350 degrees, and we'll come back and see what those look like. Alright, it has been about 10 minutes, so we are going to take a look at what we got. These look just about ready to come out, and I would say just from appearance alone, I'm excited about these here. I got this nice big chunk here. You can see the bigger chunks of chocolate. It's hard to even see the shavings, but they're in there, and that's that melted butter, the shavings, really good stuff. We're gonna let these cool off though. I don't even put them on the rack. They're really melty. They'd probably melt on through. So, but they will definitely solidify. So we're going to let those sit for just a little bit, and then we're gonna just get them plated just so you can see kind of the final product. And we'll be back. And well, folks, that is the finished product. We have our chocolate chip cookies there. I've still got more in that batch to make. It does make a good amount, but I think these turned out very well. And this is a look at your finished product there. 10 minutes at 350 degrees, and those are the very good chocolate chip cookies, and that is and those are good to go. Okay, we have a chocolate chip cook ready and one without. My son Andrew is here. He does not like chocolate, so he is going to try one of these without chocolate. I'm going to take one with, and we'll go ahead and just dig on in. Go ahead and give it a taste. We're going to give it a taste test here, see how it turned out.
It's actually pretty good.
What do you think?
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Mine has, which he doesn't like, but has the big chunks of chocolate. You get these big ones in there.
I didn't even eat my cup of water and ice.
No. I think
Really
they turned out
yummy.
pretty fantastic. So hopefully your
I'm
batch
about to eat the whole thing.
Hopefully your batch will turn out.
If I'm
Turn
right,
out the
if you
same?
cook it from there's a way to cook it from the inside, and cooking it from the inside is better. I think it's just that boiled butter that just makes it so good.
All right, well, successful batch. Hopefully you'll have as much luck. And we will see you next time. I think my next plan would be to, very good.
Make pizza. I
think the pizza might be a next one to give a shot at, but I think this one was a success.
It's gonna take much longer to actually. So when you watch it for the pizza, it's gonna be much shorter. But it's gonna take
a lot of wait periods. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of cooking and baking and just waiting around. I think we one time actually had to wait around until the next day to actually, and then we came back and started doing it again.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time on Matt Cooks.
And tell us about to your friends and family, maybe.
Yeah.